Hello, I'm Travis Green, Northeast Territory Manager for Ag Leader Technology, and I'm here today to tell you about the exciting results of a SureForce agronomy trial from 2020 growing season. So we took a Kinsey 3600 12-row planter. We put load cells on the gauge wheel arms on all 12 rows. On rows 1 through 6, we kept the down pressure springs, and on rows 7 through 12, we installed Ag Leader SureForce actuators so that we could adjust the down pressure on the go so we can maintain consistent gauge wheel load. A little bit about the farm. It's like you would see in many farms in my territory. We've got a mix of cover crops or no cover crops and a lot of truck traffic from spreading poultry litter or line. First thing we noticed going to the field here, if you'll follow my laser cursor here, you'll see we've got this pink line going through the field. Now, if we come over here to the legend, you'll see that the pink color here indicates 0 to 50 pounds of gauge wheel load. So that means something is wrong with this system. Initially, we thought there was a technical difficulty with the system. We went back and looked at the row unit, and lo and behold, we found that the front of this gauge wheel arm had been broken out. And so what was happening was that the double disc openers had no depth control whatsoever. So the row unit was going however deep it wanted to. And the farmer, the participant here in this study, commented he might have planted all day long and not knowing that there was an issue with his planter and would have had significant yield losses as a result. So right away at first field, we had a positive story to share about SureForce, this trial. Next thing I want to point out to you is the soil map, okay? So I want you to pay close attention to this blue area and then this transition into this orange area. And look how the system responds to the different soil types. So remember that blue area that I told you about. So that blue area is a lighter soil type, takes less down pressure to penetrate to get the depth. Conversely, when we get into this orange area, it's a heavier soil, requires more down pressure. We follow this path all the way through here. We'll see on the spring rows here where we've got too much gauge wheel load, upwards 200 to 300 pounds in the blue soil. And then we come into the orange soil. Now we don't have enough. And now we might have an issue with seed not getting the depth, which is obviously going to reduce our yields in those areas. Conversely, if we come over here in the center, where we have the SureForce installed, you'll see that we maintain a consistent color here, a consistent gauge wheel load in that 100 to 150 pound range. So we know that our system is working properly. Here's another field that I wanted you to take a look at. So this is gauge wheel load once again. You'll see here we've got a path going through the field where the springs are not applying enough down pressure. And then we have a clay knob here where the springs once again aren't applying enough pressure. Whereas the SureForce rows, you'll see here once again, maintain a consistent gauge wheel load across that whole pass until we get to this very rocky knob here where neither system worked perfectly. But even still, we can see the SureForce here in this scenario did a better job of penetrating that soil and maintaining more consistent gauge wheel load than the springs did. So here's a shot of the corn emerging in the spring rows. You'll see that we've got inconsistent height here from plant to plant. Conversely, when we come to our SureForce rows, you'll see that we've got consistent height here. Consistency is the name of the game when we're trying to maximize yields. We've got two pictures here of root development. The picture here on the left is a compacted seed trench. You'll see that we've got limited root growth coming out of that trench. In fact, the main taproot here is not growing downward like it should be. Conversely, it's running parallel to the trench. So when we get into dry conditions, that plant's going to suffer. It's because it's not going to have access to moisture. Conversely, over here on the right, you'll see that we've got good root growth growing through that seed trench. So we did some stand counts, and we noticed through multiple replications here that we were consistently getting 2,000 more plants per acre here on the SureForce side of the planter. And just as important, we're getting almost no late emergers, much more consistent root growth or consistent emergence here on the SureForce side versus a higher incidence of late emergers here on the spring side. So the result over multiple replications in multiple fields, multiple farms for this grower showed it was nearly a 6 bushel yield advantage to the SureForce. That's pretty significant money in today's economy, and can more than justify the cost of this system over 500 acres in a number of years. So, so just a real brief synopsis of that agronomy trial. I appreciate you logging in. And if you have any more questions, here's my contact information, my phone number, my email, and you can follow me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank you.